If you want to overcome procrastination and make big changes in your life, you might think the answer lies in more self-discipline, more willpower, or setting higher standards for yourself. But what if that was completely wrong? As I explored in my previous video on negativity bias, when we try to white-knuckle our way into changing our habits, it usually backfires. Your brain, which is trying to protect you from perceived threats, will resist changes. This is probably why most New Year's resolutions have failed by mid-January. The key to sustainable habit change isn't more discipline, it's self-trust. And self-trust is something you can build. Self-trust is the story you tell yourself about how you show up in the world. Like all stories, it's shaped over time, repeated through experiences, and oftentimes influenced by others around us. In fact, your self-story wasn't created by just you alone. It's been shaped throughout your entire life. It might even be older than you, passed down through the generations, through family and cultural narratives about what kind of people we are and what kind of things we do. If you want to understand your self-trust story, try finishing the following sentences in a journal. I'm the kind of person who, I always, I never, I find it difficult to. People always say You can even choose a specific topic and reflect on the messages you received about that topic when you were growing up, from your family, from your community, from your school environment, and any other place that you might have been impacted. This can help uncover deeper influences like societal conditioning. These prompts help reveal the thoughts that you've internalized over the years. They uncover the assumptions you make about yourself, many of which are no longer applicable to your everyday life. For example, you might have a self-story like, I'm the kind of person who always leaves things to the last minute, or I always mess things up when they get too difficult, or I never follow through when it comes to changing my habits. These are stories that you've been told and now you tell yourself. But they don't have to define your future, because that's all they are. They are made up stories that you have the power to rewrite. With stories like these, a lot of times we begin to identify with those thoughts we have. But they're not any more true than any other thought we might be having about ourselves. We've just practiced this story over and over so it feels true. We also might have a set of emotions that are connected to this particular grouping of thoughts. That's why I'm always recommending that you learn how to identify and process your emotions. And if you've never done that before, you can check out my guide up here. We often can't move beyond the stories we have about ourselves until we've given ourselves permission and space to process the emotions that go along with these particular stories or narratives that we have about ourselves. Step number 2 is to identify the spaces where you violate your own self-trust. Self-trust breaks down when you consistently violate your own needs, desires, or preferences. This can happen in subtle ways. When we don't speak up, we feel uncomfortable or even guilty about saying no or setting boundaries, or sometimes even something as simple as stating a preference for something we do actually like. For example, I notice that I violate my sense of self-trust when I say yes to attending events that I don't actually want to go to. Look at the story that you're telling yourself about this violation of your self-trust. For example, in my own experience, the story I was telling myself was that if I spoke up about my likes and dislikes, people would think I was difficult, they wouldn't want to be around me, and I would be left all alone. This is my brain trying to protect me. It's trying to keep me safe by making sure that I don't upset the people around me and they keep me part of the group. But my safety is not in danger if I say that I prefer one restaurant over another. Before I could get to that point of feeling comfortable stating my preferences, I had to recognize the story I was telling myself, process the emotions that came along with it, and rewrite the narrative. One of my favorite ways to rewrite the narrative is to consider the villain side of the story. Often when we violate our sense of self-trust, it's because we are afraid of becoming the villain in another person's story. If you want to get in touch with your own villain energy, then I created a guide to your villain energy worksheet, and you can check that out at the link in the description. In the last few years, there have been several movies made that tell the villain side of the story, and in studying Jungian psychology and shadow work, I've come to appreciate that villains actually have a lot to teach us. For example, in my work as a book coach, I was working with a client who was looking for a literary agent. So I scoured the websites of various literary agencies looking for the right fit for my client. A lot of the agents had stuff on their profiles about the things they were not looking for, the kind of books they don't want to read, and the kind of authors that they don't prefer to work with. At first, I was taken aback by this. It seemed quite blatant and even negative to be saying, I don't read science fiction, or I'm not interested in YA novels. But as I worked on finding the right fit for my client, it was actually so helpful for these agents to be very clear about their likes, and in this case, their dislikes. Their honesty was refreshing because it not only helped me to not waste my time on any agents who wouldn't be the right fit for my client, but it also helped clarify something that I was slowly starting to learn. Being clear about what we like and dislike means that people can get to know the real us and appreciate us for exactly who we are. I started practicing this with a friend who felt like someone safe to rewrite the narrative with. I told my friend, hey, I'm practicing sharing my likes and dislikes, and it's really hard for me. Are you willing to walk with me as I enter into my villain era? My friend was totally on board. Think about all the times when you've tried to make plans with someone and they're really wishy-washy about what they want to do. Like they can't really decide on what they want to eat or if they want to even go out of the house at all. It can be really frustrating compared to someone who's really clear. I want to go out for sushi. Once you've identified the areas in your life where you're violating your sense of self-trust and you've decided to rewrite the narrative, it's time to practice what I call using your villain energy. Now, I don't mean harming anyone or being mean. I mean leaning into your strong opinions, your preferences, and your boundaries, even when it feels uncomfortable. In my own life, I've found that my inner villain is actually extremely picky. My inner villain has strong opinions on almost everything. Because I am rewriting the story about not speaking up and violating my own self-trust, I don't need to do grand gestures in order to enter into this villain energy. Sometimes it's something as simple as doing the opposite of what I had planned for the day and giving myself permission to break the rules a little bit. Sometimes it's something as basic as changing my socks because I decided that I didn't like the ones I was wearing. I do little things for myself that just feel right, even when they're inconvenient. These small acts reinforce that I'm listening to myself and I'm building a sense of self-trust. Just like a child who trusts their caretaker to take care of their needs and to listen to their preferences, we build self-trust by honoring our own inner needs and preferences. It might feel uncomfortable at first. Emotions like grief, sadness, guilt, and shame can come up, but that's all part of the larger process. These emotions are tied to the stronger narratives that we've carried with us, and working through them is part of rewriting the narrative. By acknowledging these emotions and giving them space, you're teaching yourself that you can trust your own inner villain. And let's be honest, villains have the most fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.